This is David with The Verge, and this is Google's new Nexus 7. Last year, Google's first Nexus 7 immediately became the best Android tablet on the market. But in the last 12 months, it's become ploddingly slow and buggy and just outdated. So Google's back with another, this time for $229, bringing the device way up to date. It starts with the hardware, made by ASUS. The new Nexus 7 has a 7.02-inch 1920 by 1200 IPS display that is way better than the last model, or even something like the iPad mini. It has fantastic viewing angles and gorgeous color reproduction, and it's just insanely sharp. At 323 pixels per inch, it's good enough that you can even read tiny text. I could actually read a book through the screenshots in the Play Store, and everything from movies to books is just more pleasant to look at. The screen gets incredibly bright and absolutely destroys the battery when it's turned all the way up, but it's overall one of the best tablet displays I've ever seen, maybe the best. Even while improving the screen, Google managed to make the Nexus 7 a little bit thinner and a lot lighter. It's a little taller now, and it feels a lot taller. The bezels on the sides are thinner than last year's model, but the top and bottom bezels are still big and fat. It makes the device feel kind of asymmetrical, which the off-center camera lens on the front doesn't help either. But the Nexus 7 is even more comfortable and usable in one hand than ever. It's still soft touch and comfortable, but it feels much more grown up somehow. I could see James Bond using this Nexus 7. Google and ASUS also added stereo speakers, which are great. No matter how you hold the new Nexus 7, you get genuine stereo sound that's pretty loud and pretty clear. There's a new 5-megapixel rear camera as well, but it's not very good or very interesting. For $229, you can only expect so much, but Google did make bigger promises this time. The new Nexus 7 runs on a faster processor and a GPU that Google says is more than 4 times as powerful. There's double the RAM now, too, which is a big upgrade. And it's fast. Other than the fact that Google has somehow not figured out how to animate scrolling properly, there are basically zero performance issues with this Nexus 7. Games look great, even intensive ones, and the operating system flows smoothly. Part of that is definitely due to the fact that the Nexus 7 runs Android 4.3. It's still called Jelly Bean, but it does bring a few new things to the table. Restricted profiles basically just gives you parental controls for the tablet. You can pick and choose which apps certain users can access. It's a feature lots of tablets have had, though it's just now baked into the OS. One genuinely cool new feature is Play Games, which is essentially a not hideous Game Center or Xbox Live for Android. It tracks your achievements and high scores, shows you what your friends are playing, and so on. Google's talking a lot about tablet apps and how many of them look good and work well on the Nexus 7. There are definitely signs of life for the Android ecosystem here. Apps like Flipboard and Evernote and Pocket work great on a 7-inch device, and Netflix can now play in gorgeous 1080p. But there are still plenty of examples like Ardeo, which is just a blown-up phone app and looks pretty bad. Particularly for game players, too, there are just many more great apps on iOS than on Android. But for most things, Android's caught up. And on a 7-inch device, even the blown-up phone apps don't look quite so terrible. The new Nexus 7 is far more powerful than the old. There's no question about that. But I'm still a little nervous. In our benchmark tests, its raw numbers are much better, but relative to the competition, they're about the same as the Nexus 7 was a year ago. I was hoping for insane, crazy power, so this tablet would be able to hang around for years, but that may not be the case. I guess we might just be stuck paying $229 a year forever, which does make the more expensive models, like the 32 gig model for $269, or 32 gigs plus LTE for $349, a much harder sell. Battery life is another thing that was odd about the old Nexus 7, at least the one I bought. It was great for a couple of months and then basically fell off a cliff. For now, the new model easily lasts through a full day of pretty heavy use, even with some gaming and movie watching, and it burns almost no battery on standby, which was not true of the Nexus 7 I bought a year ago. I'm hoping that holds up. So, yes, I'm still a little worried about the future, but in some sense, such is the price of progress. And the Nexus 7 has such good build quality, such a gorgeous screen, and finally, such a good selection of tablet apps that for as long as the processor can hang around, this is going to be one of the best Android tablets on the market. Apple may well come out with an iPad mini with Retina display, and it may well continue to have a big ecosystem advantage, especially for gamers. But if you want a tablet that's great for reading, watching movies, browsing the web, and checking your email, the new Nexus 7 for all of $229 is pretty much unbeatable.